I want to talk a little bit about the Buccaneers.
All right.
And there's so much to talk about, but I think right now we're not in a rebuilding. A lot of people are using that term rebuilding or rebuilding, because Brady was
we'll
a centric
see,
part.
because
we'll see.
there's a couple of key things moving on right here, because this week in the NFL this week is known as Massacre Week.
Yeah.
What that means is that the salary cap was just announced to everybody. And so now everybody is trying to get underneath that cap amount.
Yeah.
So that cap amount was
There's
just
gonna be
released.
some changes.
Here's a tweet by My Sports Updates. The NFL just announced that they informed teams today that the 2022 salary cap will be $208.2 million. That's up $25.7 million from last year.
Yeah.
Which, due to COVID, they reduced the salary cap down to around 180. Now we're up $25 million. But a lot of teams last year, they had to scramble and put together and defer some contracts, make some team-friendly deals going on. So now caps this year are inflated. There's several teams that are over the cap right now.
Yeah.
So they have to, by next Wednesday, we're talking 5 days from right now, they have to submit and they have to be under the cap in what they're going to do. So the Bucs have a lot of free agents, and we're going to talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of question marks going forward as far as what we're going to do to get under the cap. I know they've done a couple things this week as far as franchise tagging, and obviously Marpet retired, so that helped out a little bit. But it's going to be unique puzzle piece.
Which is good to see.
The Bucs front office is amazing as far as being able to, as far as salary cap manipulation to get it under what they did last year was an amazing job to even put together what they did.
Yeah, which you have to give them credit for the Super Bowl win in the first place, for them to be able to put together a team like they did with Brady when he came in. I think we always forget to give the front office credit. We forget to give these guys a credit, the guys that built the team, from a financial aspect, and went and did kind of that backside, that closet labor to put a team together like that. Everybody, when I remember when the Bucs won, it was all about Tom Brady, which obviously Tom Brady was the key component that we were missing to bring us all the way through the finish line. But I think people forget there's people that made that move happen. There's people who are a part of that process, people who move things around financially to make that work. And those guys have to get credit as well. And
the front office is great. GM's great as far as what they do. It's amazing. So that's actually an example that I was going to use. Tom Brady, when he originally signed, was on a 2-year contract.
Yeah.
Then last year, to make sure that they were underneath the cap to get down to 180 point whatever it was, he restructured out his contract for another 2 years. And so that plays into factor now. There's dead cap space because of that, but obviously the boys are going to figure all that stuff out. So
I bet they think it was worth it, though.
Yes. So currently, at Greg Allman, he tweeted that today's NFL salary cap was reported from the NFLPA, and it has the Bucs $11.2 million over the cap as one of the 11 teams still in the red. All teams must get under the cap by Wednesday afternoon.
Look at the Packers.
The Packers $42 million over, and they just signed Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, they're gonna have a problem.
The Saints are $35 million over with no quarterback. The Rams $23 million. And then he goes on to say, sometimes a team's cap status with the NFLPA won't reflect deals, cuts, restructures that have been reported publicly, but not yet filed with the league. This is just what the league has on file for each team currently. So that's subject to change. They're going to get things figured out, obviously.
The Packers are in trouble. I mean, you just signed Aaron Rodgers because you're quarterback thirsty. It's funny.
Now, you can't even say that.
Packers, I mean,
because
the
Packers are owned by shareholders and not by an owner, everything about their organization is terrible. That's why they've only drafted one wide receiver in the past couple decades. Everything is awful as far as their operating system. The only reason why they've been good is because they've had Aaron Rodgers.
I know, but that's what when I say quarterback thirsty, I mean there's
the dumbest thing that I've ever seen as far as an NFL draft goes, personally witnessed, was a couple years ago when they traded up to draft his replacement.
Yeah.
How do they? That's not a good move.
Yeah, not at all.
So
not at all.
They did the same thing with Brett Favre. It caused all kinds of stuff. It did with Aaron Rodgers. They've created controversy.
It's their franchise history. It's just kind of what they do. But now we'll see what ends up happening with the Packers. I'm curious to see what ends up happening. What moves are going to happen involving the Bucs, because we're really looking forward to this season. It's going to be different than I think we recently became accustomed to. There's going to be some changes, and we'll get into that. A little bit. So I was about to bring this up. Godwin, let's talk about this. I mean, obviously we saw this last week. What do you think about the whole thing?
So Godwin, he's been franchise tagged for the second year in a row now.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think that the Bucs were trying to be able to reach a deal with him. I think that would be ideal. The Bucs know that. The fans know that. That going into your second year of being franchise tagged, and we'll go into the details in a second. But I think that it really hurt him having the ACL problem last year, and the Bucs kind of wanted one of two things. They want to see, is he able to still play how he plays with the ACL being rehabbed and everything, or are they trying to get something figured out with the salary cap? Because they had to get him locked up, and then is it now, hey, let's put together the rest of the pieces salary cap wise, and then see what can we do with Godwin and still be under the cap, and if not, he's franchise tagged.
Yeah.
Now, franchise tag, the way that it works is that each team has one franchise tag. And if you are franchise tagged, you're taking the top 5 paid people in that position in the NFL, and the average, the salary has to be at least that.
Okay.
And it's guaranteed money. So each year that you do it, it gets worse. So it's could be a negative thing for their cap.
Yeah.
Because they're doing it 2 years in a row now. So
what do you think it is? I mean, how do you feel about Godwin, not only as a part of the team, but putting in how much he's costing the Bucs when it comes to their salary cap, obviously them being over that?
Yeah. Well, the details are he's getting paid $19.18 million in 2022.
He's great. He's great. He's a lot
phenomenal.
of money.
That's a big hit against the cap. It is.
That's a lot of money.
But I personally think that Godwin's integral to their offense. You know,
he is. Yeah.
He broke the single game receptions record for the Bucs this past season. He was having like 15 catches a game on average during one.
It helps having Tom Brady though.
It does.
I mean,
it does help.
A great quarterback makes great receivers because the ball is where it needs to be every time, and they know that. And so it's
Godwin was good before Brady.
No, I know, but you can't. You know, when he's breaking records and the ball's coming from the hands of Tom Brady, it's hard to put those in comparison. You know, it's a little bit. You know,
for sure. So, speaking of tagging him because he was a free agent, let's talk about who else the Bucs have that are free agents this year. Yeah. And this is what I meant by we'll see what they're able to put together this year because they're already $11 million over the cap.
Chess game.
And we're going to go over on the screen right now all of the free agents that the Bucs have starting next week as of Wednesday. At quarterback, they have Blaine Gabbert. At running back, they have all their 3 guys, Fournette, Ronald Jones, and Giovanni Bernard. At wide receiver, they have Chris Godwin and Perriman. At tight end, Gronkowski and Howard. On the offensive line, Jensen, Kappa, Stinney, and Wells.
Yeah.
At the D-line, they have Ndamukong Suh, Golston, and McClendon. Outside linebacker, Jason Pierre-Paul. Inside linebacker, Minter, cornerback Davis, Richard Sherman, and Desier. At safety, they have Whitehead and Adams, and restricted free agents are Trenner and O'Connor.
Which is the greatest player in the history of the NFL.
Because of
by
his
name.
By name.
Not by performance, by name only.
So this is a lot.
And then Marpet retired, which is something to put in there.
Yes. So those are a lot of missing pieces to fill.
That's a lot of pieces.
Being $11 million over the cap right now, those are some big names.
You're already sitting over the cap, and you've got all this falling underneath, kind of through the cracks. What the heck are you gonna do?
It makes me nervous.
Yeah, I mean, the next 5 days are gonna be really important for the whole league, but for the Bucs moving forward. If, like you talked about, is it gonna be a rebuild? Well, it depends what the next 5 days look like and how they respond to this cap.
What can they get done to get under the cap? Who can they sign? Who's going to be allowed to be a free agent going in after next week? And then those guys, like these are some key components of the team. Are they going to want to go elsewhere now that Tom's gone? Who knows? These are all key factors that we're going to have to see as they play out over the next week.